Welcome, everyone. I am Joan Kimball. I work to keep the library poetry workshop going. We are so lucky to be here in the Wayland Library, where the reference programming librarian is hosting us, Courtney Michael. We have been an official group of the library since the 1990s, having first met in people's houses. Today, we are reviving our yearly public reading, which was shut down in 2020 because of COVID. This is our 21st annual reading. Our featured reader will be Linda Goldberg, who will join us on Zoom, we hope. We have sent Laura over to see if she can help Linda get on the Zoom. Now, instead of starting with Linda, I would like to start with our readers who came to read from our member Nancy Geiser's book. Let me explain a little bit. Nancy Geiser's book is a collection of poems that were edited by Debra Martin and were published just in July, just as we lost Nancy to ourselves. Nancy died, but her two daughters, her daughter and her son are going to read from her book, and that will be so special. And I'm going to introduce those two, Nancy's son and Nancy's daughter, now. Stephen and Susan Geiser will be the first ones to read. And let me say a word about them. I've got it here somewhere, if I can just find it. We want to welcome Stephen and Susan Geiser, the son and daughter of our longtime member, Nancy Geiser, whom we lost in July. Nancy used to run this annual reading along with me and Debra Martin. Susan and Stephen will read from their mother's poetry collection, Connections, edited by Debra Martin. That was published this summer. Susan and Stephen will be followed by members of the workshop, both here and on Zoom. So at the moment, we will start with Stephen and
Linda's
Susan.
now online.
Oh, I know Linda's online. Oh my
What is
goodness.
that?
Linda's now online.
Call Laura
Can we
and tell
call
her to
Laura
come back.
and see if we can get-
Linda is online.
Yes.
I just
Oh, I
got
see
on.
her.
I don't know
That's
what happened.
wonderful.
Sorry it
All
took
right.
so long.
Linda has appeared, which is wonderful. So
You can continue the way,
maybe-
any way you want.
maybe I'll go back to
That's
where
not-
I was going to do. It's complicated, but
Where we have-
I'm sorry, it
does
just
mean that
it
I
took me
can
so long.
introduce her.
You might ask if she-
Let me also say, after the readings, if there's any time left, we will mingle and we have some refreshments here. Please do not applause until the end. No clapping, please. And now I'm hoping to introduce Linda. Are you ready, Linda? Okay. Linda Goldberg's grandparents arrived in Boston from Ukraine when it was part of Russia. She was born in Boston and lived there until she was 10 years old when her family moved to Brookline. Yiddish was spoken at home as well as English. She helped her Russian-speaking grandparents learn English. After Brookline High School, Linda earned a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics at the University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Upon marriage, she and her husband moved to Natick, where they raised 2 children and where she still lives. As for starting to write, it was Ruth Harriet Jacobs who got Linda started writing. Linda then went on to found the Metro West Writers Workshop at the Morse Institute Library in Natick. She published a book of fiction called Here I Am, which explored her own childhood. I don't know if anybody can see that. Probably not. But anyway. Eventually, poetry found its way. Rose Gotsis brought Linda into the Wayland Poetry Workshop. And now Linda goes back and forth writing in poetry and in prose. And I give you Linda.
Okay. Ruth Harriet Jacobs, when I wanted to read about my novel, she said they like funny. So here's funny. See this doll? Pretend it's a Tony doll. Does anybody remember the Tony dolls without a head? I love this Tony doll. Now my sister has a Tony doll and I asked her if I could borrow it, but she said no, because it was too delicate for me to use today. So here goes. I'm sure my sister's on this Zoom. Okay. So how I wanted a blonde Tony doll. As Mom handed me the package, I was so overjoyed I could hardly breathe. I could fix the doll's hair in different styles and pretend it was me all grown up. How excited I felt as I unwrapped the package. I tore back the paper. My eyes began to water. There, inside a white rectangular box, lay a dark-haired doll. The blue and white pinafore and the white shoes and socks did not lessen my anger. Just because my sister had red hair and I have dark, Mom gave her the blonde doll. My sister looked content. I broke into tears. What could she be thinking? Why didn't she give me the doll?
Oh.
So now I'll read my poems. And the first poem is about the book. The book you just saw. I have nothing more to say. I wrote this book, dramatized stories, shaped from memory, hid behind scenes I created, breathed life into my characters, exposed hidden truths that supported my point of view. I will do anything to rid myself of this book, even recreate my past to sell this book. I lie next to the book to feel the still hot breath from those pictured within. I hear their voices, see their faces, picture them performing. I could not birth another book, write more scenes, more moving, about nothing. Dad washes his hands. Mom hangs laundry. Brother plays baseball. Sister reads a book. I developed the plot, voiced happy endings, which became alive on the page. I own nothing as beloved as these stories. I will not let them go. I have nothing more to say. The scar. I still see it right below my left eyebrow, the scar. Blood dripped from over my left eye. Pain throbbed. Iodine stung. Would I be able to see out of that eye? Fear of the future from a dog barking turned my face towards the jagged gate. Despite a blind spot, I can still see the 4-room apartment where the 5 of us ate, laughed and cried and prayed. The place where I dreamt of being a writer. I can see now what I didn't see then. The scar-filled memories, jagged enough to write about forever.
Hmm.
Listen, I had an upsetting dream last night. We both sat in the back seat of a car, but were unable to talk or touch. I tossed around trying to rearrange the dream so we were able to talk or touch. Awakened, darkness prevented me from even seeing the moon. I entered the dining room where a yahrzeit candle, still lit from last night, flickered. From that light, your soul reached out to say, despite your loneliness, don't rush to lie down beside me. Even then, we will neither be able to speak or touch. Wait for me, I cry. Childhood. 2 sparrows high on a tree. Do they think, just like me? Fly away above all. Be free. Do they act, mindful of me? Write of a place, the faraway past, to bring me back where memories last. Create a play, the dreamer is free, unburdened at last to sing for me. A storm is coming. I saw flocks of birds fly south. I saw a family of deer looking for food. I saw my future. A storm is coming. I wish I were a bird. Perhaps life is a circle, color of a tear. Age brings forgiveness of self. If I lead, will others who wish forgiveness and understanding follow? Perhaps. I made a mistake. I breathe to keep on breathing, to project the strongest voice in my poems. We love the trees. We love the trees that wind down our street now being torn down before the upcoming storm, taking away shade that leaves a less colorful fall. Cut down the very trees which helped us breathe these many years, that gave me comfort from the storm of your loss by their very presence. Death tears its way into my dreams in the middle of the night. At dawn, I walk onto our deck. Leaves breathe in memories. If I can only go back and redo, I would. Ukraine. My bubby Ita sat at her kitchen table. The aroma of karnavashkas was wafting in the air and said, when I was young in the Ukraine, if anyone had a toothache, they would put one end of the string around the tooth, the other end of the string on the doorknob, then shut the door. Eyes wide under her big glasses, she laughed. Years later, sitting at my kitchen table, the aroma of anish and kasha wafting in the air, I said to my son, when my bubby Ita was young in the Ukraine, if anyone had a toothache, they would put one end around the string, another around the tooth, the other end of the string on the doorknob, and shut the door. I laughed. Several years later, when my son was 6, his sister 3, I heard my daughter scream. There in the hall, my son had put a string around my daughter's loose tooth, the other end on the doorknob. Stop! We are not living in the Ukraine, I yelled. Or are we? I remember coming home from school on a Friday to the aroma of chicken soup simmering in a black cast iron pot on a black coal burning stove. I set the table covered in a white tablecloth. Dad opened the back door smelling, excuse me, somebody's ringing my bell. Is that from you?
That's Laura.
Should I open the door? What should I do?
It's Laura. Yeah, you should open the door. It's Laura.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I'll be right back.
No.
All right.
Gosh.
No, no. There's a lot of love. The sound sounds so much better.
Good,
Thank you.
good.
Yeah, thank you.
It's Joan, when we get to the other leaders, Penny has to go by 4. So you might want.
Well, she is in the first group of readers.
Okay, everyone, I'm back. Which poem was I reading?
You were on number 9? I remember.
Was I on number 9? I remember.
Let's finish the Ukraine.
Childhood. Oh, here's number 4, childhood.
No, Ukraine, Ukraine.
Ukraine. I've messed you up. So there's 4. There's 4. Where's Ukraine?
She finished.
You finished Ukraine.
Oh,
Okay.
look here. Here's Ukraine.
Did I
number
finish? I
8.
finished Ukraine, right?
Yes, number 9.
And
There you go. This one. Sorry for the drama, everybody.
Well, this will be a meeting to remember, folks. Okay, so this is 9. I remember. Coming home from after school on a Friday to the aroma of chicken soup, simmering on a black cast iron pot on a black coal burning stove. I set the table covered in a white tablecloth. Dad opened the back door smelling of coal and burning copper from working in the junkyard. I watched as he put one hand over the other, all the way up to his elbows, till he smelt of Baraxo, the working man's soap. After putting on a clean white shirt and yarmulke, he walked into the kitchen. Mom's smelling of ivory soap mixed with Tide detergent benched lip. Then stood up to recite the blessings over the wine and challah. Everyone but me drank chicken soup. I did not like chicken soup. Now I love chicken soup. An idea without a majority is a poem. Some words are best left unspoken. The tree outside my deck is as me. Leaves shiver up and down its spine, then turn to the orange and yellow branch turned upwards. A prayer is like a poem, more powerful than a single candle, raises you up from darkness so you don't have to feel alone and afraid. The poem that should be written is different than the poem that should not be written. For fear, it is never started. The wind vibrates through the lyrics, which are heard like a choir of green buds imagined only in dreams. In a poem that should be written, there is a danger that fears and wishes which sing on the page reach depths of knowledge, painful and true. The truth breathes in the shadow as an old tree, its gnarled limbs stretched out, cry for one more day in the sun, one kind word. Yes, we have no bananas. Yesterday, I asked the cashier, do you have cream cheese? Yes, we do. Can I buy more than one? Today you can. Soon we are getting a list of items without a limit, like rationing, with a limit, like rationing. As when I was young, Mom wheeled me in a carriage along Blue Hill Avenue. Do you have a banana for the baby? Mom asked. Yes, the fruit man handed me a yellow banana. After a long walk along the avenue, Blue Hill Avenue, Mom handed the banana to her mother to give to her father. Stratton Street. Stratton Street across from Franklin Field gave me space in a crowded world. Yiddish disappeared when the television set appeared. I can still hear the murmur of Yiddish spoken by my parents. Joy hovered everywhere along with being poor. Hand-me-down dresses, basement filled with coal, where Dad stoked coal into the furnace. On my last day in the 4-room apartment where 5 of us lived, I put into my memory all the clouds above me. Those days still exist in my mind, quiet and pure as a flower. Friendships were forever, loneliness only a dream. What is left? Only fear of the future. I don't think it's supposed to clap.
It's supposed to clap.
Oh,
Well, I thank you for waiting for me, and I'm so happy I could read my poems.
Well, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. I think that Linda has done a really wonderful job. I thank you, Linda, and I want to go on to the other people who are on Zoom. And we're going to start with Penny because she needs to leave early. So Penny, and then it will be Cheryl. Penny, are you there?
I am.
Okay.
I'm right here.
Okay,
Okay, let me pull up Penny's picture.
your turn, Penny.
I need Courtney's help for this.
1 second.
It's okay.
I wonder if I should.
This poem, thank you. This poem was written for a piece of art that was on display in my senior community, Linden Ponds. And this is, you see the picture, and this is what I wrote. It took me nearly 2 months to realize that it was impossible to write a poem about a picture that did not need words. Then I remembered that words were called for. Life force. They leaned together toward each other. Old Jan married couple, trusting the years of love to keep each other upright through it all. The challenges faced and weathered, leavened by shared glances, little jokes. Old familiar habits, some enduring, some merely endured, and endless readjustments to each other's partner in the dance of life that is the span of love. I have known that glimpse of heaven, though it was long ago and not granted the other peace that comes with time. I can celebrate that kind of joy, the profound contentment so many friends have drawn from two lives twined for greater strength. As the earth is touched by rays of sunlight, a wand of rain, and so is fruitful, the tensile power of that kind of love flows onward, outward to the universe, maintaining its life-giving force with momentum that goes on forever.
Thank you, Penny. And now we will.
And the name of this picture is Forever.
Oh, okay, good to know. Our next reader is Cheryl Perrault, and she's going to read Connections.
Yes, hello. My poem is titled Connection. It begins and ends with stars and has reference in there to Dr. Masaru Emoto and his water crystal research. He was a Japanese researcher and doctor of alternative medicine. And through his experiments with water crystals, he found that thoughts and emotions can have an energetic effect and an influence on our physical reality. And also did some research later on that found water exposed to positive stimuli of words like love and gratitude form beautiful symmetrical water crystals, and those that were exposed to negative words and stimuli like hate or anger formed asymmetrical, disorganized patterns. And his work can help us question if water is affected by words, intentions, and energies. What about human beings who are made of 70% about water? And if we transform the water and thoughts we're made of, what else is possible? And Dr. Emoto had said, water has a memory and carries within it our thoughts and prayers. As you yourself are water, no matter where you are, your prayers will be carried to the rest of the world. Connection. I am the multitude of stars. I am the multitude of all beings on this planet that I feel these days and love so much, like a last hurrah. Inside me, outside me, the deep, raw beauty and all offerings of this earth is always given so generously, yet often we don't even see how very related we are to every single particle of this planet. Did I really know when I was younger like I know now, realizing with still opening eyes how short and precious this life here really is? I think of the conversation I had with my 14-year-old niece this week. All of her mind and heart seemed wired into the technology of her phone while we were talking. She asks, why is the earth so important? Why do we have to be so good to each other all of the time? I think back when I was in my 50s, just waking up to this question in my life of how very interconnected we really all are while napping beside my wise ancient dog outside in the deep, warm sun. I think of the news of our human-induced pollutants, all the domination and drilling of land, all the dying of birds and bees, elephants and whales, all the toxicity from our wars and division having impact on the Earth's life-giving layers of ground and air of atmosphere above, like one of Dr. Emoto's decomposing snowflakes. I think of when I was chanting Om Mani Padme Hum in meditation group last night and feeling like I was a tiny fleck of star in the galaxy, being there amidst billions and beyond, just resting in place and loving everything around me, just giving light the very best that I can.
Now, if Dan is around, are you there, Dan? Yes. Dan Dury is going to read Velocity.
But he's muted right now. Let's see if he can unmute.
Okay. Wait a sec, Dan, you're muted. Wait a minute.
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Now you can speak.
Okay. It was late. I was going fast, way too fast, in a snit about something. I don't remember what, but was taking it out on the gas pedal. It was a back road. I'd been on this road before and should have known. A curve loomed ahead, curve at a stone wall. That short moment seemed to last forever, but it was only long enough for me to see that I wasn't going to make it. The first thing I remember was the ceiling, one I'd never seen before. High, with old-fashioned tin tiles, now painted over in white. I was in a bed, not my own. Two people stood by my side, and after a while it comes to me. I'm in a hospital. The two are an intern and a nurse. They ask what happened. Confused, I could not say. Then finally I remember. I was in my car, driving fast, way too fast. The image of that wall remains with me, clear and vivid, 50-some years hence. They, and I never found out who they were, used heavy tools, jaws of life, they called it, to get me out of that car, wrecked beyond belief. Totally unsurvivable. Then sent me off for dead, I imagine, as no one could or should have lived through that. But apparently, I had things yet to do in this life. Because here I am, still wondering often why.
Thank you, Dan. I don't know if Donna Lee is with us. I don't believe she is.
There is a Donna.
Donna, are you there? I don't think she is.
Hold on.
I think we'll go on to Francine. Francine Brown.
Hello.
Is aboard the East Wind.
I don't know if you can see it, but this is a photograph of the East Wind on their website. They're in Boothbay Harbor, Maine, and still taking other people for boat rides. And I called my poem Aboard the East Wind, a sail from Boothbay Harbor. The schooner East Wind, anchored, lay at rest upon the glistening bay, and double-masted, reached for sky with 5 sails lashed so none could fly. We passengers stepped gingerly upon her deck to go to sea. A deckhand loosened each knot's grip. Upon the rig, so air could slip beneath the sturdy folded cloth, abandoning the slumber sloth that had prevailed while harbored safe. The ship eased out to seek its fate. Well past Marina, mooring slip, they tugged the ropes aboard our ship and raised each sail to flutter proud above the sun-tanned, timorous crowd. The breeze inflated, tried to tweak each bolt of cloth, a plug-filled cheek. Shortly, an island glided by, blue pool, brick mansion, hilltop high. A harbor seal and her pups kept cliffside. We watched them as they slept. Some leagues beyond, an osprey pair flew missions, built their nest with care. A mink whale surfaced, quickly dove adjacent to a quiet cove. A gull caught dinner on the wing, fought to retain it, remained king. Soon after we'd enjoyed the trip, the starboard side began to tip. We'll bring the schooner now to heel, the captain said, and we could feel misgivings as our backpacks slid close to the drink. Then all were bid to hold fast to the rail, the seat. Remain on board, no easy feat. The captain spoke from ship to shore on a phone, and he warned once more, a squall will soon be on our path. Get ready or you'll have a bath. The deckhand passed the slickers round. As snaps were closed, a click-clack sound echoed on deck from stern to bow. Whose idea was this anyhow? My husband asked me, fire-eyed. Stoic, I tied my hood and tried to keep him in a party mood. He rolled his trousers, stowed his shoes, and afterward looked up for news on when that awful storm might hit. We heard the thud a baseball mitt receives if a drive lands, and as it hits, threatens to rip the mitt to bits. The rains had come.
Very nice.
I hope the future riders on the East Wind have calmer weather.
Thank you, Francine. It's now Howard Cogan's turn.
Thank you. This poem is called In the Beginning. It's a poem about writing poems. In the beginning seems like a good way to start a poem. It has a familiar ring, a vague profundity, an authoritative tone. Of course, what follows matters. In the beginning of the third inning lacks the gravitas of in the beginning God created, which reminds me of in the beginning was the word, an idea poets like. That's the Apostle John talking about God's word becoming flesh. It's a trick we keep trying to learn. But until we do, we're sentenced to use words to make sense of our lives and keep us from feeling alone and unknown. It's difficult talking about words with words, but what else do we have? Anyway, it's about time someone walked into the room and noticed the white lotus blossom encircled by orange and blue koi, each koi a single brushstroke, practiced for years so it appears effortless. Or we can stand at the edge of a high cliff, looking down into a painted canyon, watching a paint stallion galloping with his harem, a vulture riding a column of warm air lifts above the rim and eyes us. Its head is the color of meat. Or we can watch a gazelle being chased by an unchaste lioness with cubs to feed. Let's ask Mother Teresa to pray for them. She's standing there in the shade, fingering her rosary beads, laughing and whispering with Princess Diana. They're as real as the lion cubs you see, waiting quietly in the shade of an acacia tree. Each a word in a poem, in a world we're creating together. Though this poem is not about flowers, horses, lions, gazelles, or Mother Teresa. They're only words that glide in and out of the poem like Olympic skaters who are poets themselves, inscribing their poems on the ice, while judges wait for them to execute the required double axel and follow it with a spin, spinning faster and faster until they're a blur, bent on drilling themselves into the ice, which they would do if this were a cartoon. But it's all words, no pictures. The pictures are yours. You're the only one who knows if the skater is a man or a woman, how tall they are, the color of their hair, or whether they landed that double axel. Eventually, the skater stops spinning, masks their face in a practiced smile, and skates backward around the rink, gracefully acknowledging the applause of fans. Now the skater steps off the ice into the arms of a Russian trainer. One look, and you know she's KGB. She wears a silver fox coat, bears little resemblance to Mother Teresa, though she might be the lioness and the skater the gazelle, or be the gazelle and the party apparatchiks the lioness. Or it's something else entirely. That's the problem with words. They can deceive as easily as inform. Truth is beauty, but lies are always dressed to kill. Or perhaps the poem stems from seeing a woman wearing a lotus blossom kerchief with a coy border, like the one Mother wore after chemo, so thin she could have been in a photograph of a concentration camp. A photograph because that's as close as the word can get to life. That's the sort of poem we're writing. Complex, confusing, and one that inevitably fails because words can only carry you so far. The possibilities are endless, but in the end, only one possibility can be lived. That's why there will always be another poem. In the beginning was the word. In the end will be a silence that speaks with an eloquence words can only envy. Thank you.
Thank you, Howard. And we do have the possibility of James Nicola if he is there, but I don't believe he is.
Give him 1 minute.
I am here. Can you hear me? I'm
Well,
here.
you are.
Yeah, just the camera's not working. My apologies. I tried 2 devices and for some reason the camera's not working. But I'm here.
Okay, James, it's your turn.
Wonderful. Hi, everybody. Saying hello from New York City, just above the Lincoln Tunnel. I have New Jersey and the Hudson River out my window. I wish I could show it all to you, but I will another time. This is called Thoreau, and it's a poem about that neck of the woods. And it's in my latest collection called Natural Tendencies, was just published by a Massachusetts publisher in Somerville called Cervena Barva Press, Cervena Barva Press with a CER. And they're right in Somerville. Anyway, Thoreau. There is a world invisible, if not a sea beyond, a place of quiet, deep and still, a bottom of the pond. He measured the perimeter and calculated where, in theory, it should appear, if it indeed were there. Though we are here, not there, and I have brought with me his book to sit above the lake and read while listening to the brook. I can't say why, but on arriving at the stream, I doff my shoes and socks and let my toes get wet with my socks off. Not that I'm in a madcap mood, it's just something to do. Then, barefoot, I stroll down the banks where I run into you. There, bubbling waters reach the pond. They're silenced at the base. I roll my trousers up, wade in, and splash my legs and face. Again, I can't say why, but see that I may never reach the center. But from any rill or river or a beach, I can affect a drop that's headed there eventually, that depths and centers might receive a molecule of me, which, as you say, may never join the center of a lake like Walden, but at least I might be calm a passing ache. Then, floating in the water, still, I see you on dry land and suddenly invite you in because I understand this wonderment, this universe, this galaxy, this sphere, this continent, this country, place, environment, this here. And though the center may not hold, if we together fill a hollow with our humble toes, possibly it will. Thank you so much. That's the poem.
Thank you, James. We're sorry we can't see you, James, but that's all right.
Yep, nothing I can do. 2 devices. I defragged on one and everything to try to make all the virus things disappear. And anyway, sorry.
Okay, we're going to go to Marie if she's ready. Are you ready, Marie?
Yes.
Okay, Marie Cole.
First, I would like to say I want to dedicate this poem to Nancy because I can feel that if she heard it, she would enjoy it. The title is Cape Cod Sunset. It's a place I love to be. I seek the night, chase a moonlit sky, scallop shores reach heads of foam. Tides of the Atlantic feed on sand-swept shore. Rake the dunes deposited on land, worn by tides. Gull-free skies welcome the sunset. Ocean's horizon seems to rise. Kiss the fallen sun as peaks of colors golden glow, bid a welcome, till weeds and beach grass, shadowy images, paint a pattern along the shore. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, Mary. Now that is the last of the people reading in the library, on Zoom. And we're now going to turn to people who are reading in the library. And we're going to start with 2 people whom we don't know very well, but we're very excited to see them. Susan and Stephen Geiser, who are the children of Nancy Geiser, a longtime member of our workshop, whom we lost in July. Susan and Stephen will read from their mother Nancy's book, Connections, which was edited by Debra Martin, and they are planning to share copies with us. Stephen and Susan will be followed by other members of the workshop that are here in the library. Would you start, Stephen? Sure. Composing a poem by Nancy.
Good afternoon, everyone. My sisters and I would like to offer a special note of thanks to Debbie Martin, who worked with our mom to sift through her many poems. I think there's over 80 in her book, but to pull them together to select the cover design, review, revise, and revise again and again until her words were just right. So we appreciate your knowledge, Debbie, and support in making this dream to publish her poetry a reality. So we thank you for that. I'm sure our mom would delight in her creation. So this is her book, Connections. Nice little photo on the back. I was delaying reading this until time had passed and I could have it as a special memory, but I said, let me find something in here that I could read that people might identify with. And so I picked a poem that I'll read shortly, but I also wanted to give thanks to Joan Kimball and for leading this wonderful poetry group. Our mother enjoyed so much the friendships that she made here, the creative and intellectually challenging environment, and the supportive nature of you folks as you read your poems. So a great thanks to the Wayland Poetry Group for the past 20 odd years that Mom has been coming here. We wish our mom could have been here just a little bit longer to enjoy this day, but we're glad to be here and share with you. We will be donating several copies of these books to the Wayland Library, the Natick Library, and the Wellesley Library. She has special connections to each of those libraries, so we'll be donating a copy of that. On to her poem, Composing a Poem by Nancy Kittredge Geiser. One can wait barren weeks for an inspiration, a fresh outlook, wait for words that curl into each other in a new, interesting way. Inspiration must be obeyed or lost unless immediately written down, enlarged upon, items listed, stories told with word pictures. Then the typing and revisions, checking a thesaurus for the right words, and after printing a final version, returning to the copy many times for several days, like a mother with a brand new baby, delighting in her creation. Noting ways to help the infant lie more comfortably. Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you, Stephen. And now one more poem by Nancy Geiser, read by her daughter, Susan.
Need to use the microphone. It's you. Thank you. It's so nice to be here today with all of you. I'm going to read a poem that my mother wrote about the summer cottage, which is very special to all of us. And I understand some of you might have heard this before, but we feel it really reflects her personality. I sit on our screen porch overlooking the almost still lake, watching a morning swimmer change her stroke as she plows past our dock. I remember a former neighbor who regularly swam the same path until her husband's care and a massive stroke stilled her energy. The living room walls and ceiling reflect light that covers their once dark interior. My friend, who worked so hard on our painting marathon weekend, now devotes herself to the grands. Birds lightly chattering in the trees remind me of lessons from cawing crows, not to put corn cobs or fruit in the compost pile if we wanted to keep sleep summer mornings. if we wanted to sleep summer mornings. The large pictures in my bedroom are of my father and his sister as children. She, a woman who ended her life as a young mother to leave an unhappy marriage. Also photos of my parents, whose wisdom, kindness, and teachings I used to think quite usual and ordinary. The cottage itself was built nearly 100 years ago by my minister grandfather as a camp, without electricity or running water. One needed only soap and a towel for a lake bath then. A cottage now sheltering its 5th generation. It was here we vacationed only days before our son was killed on his paper route. He who loved this place found magic in its plants, stones, water, area history, sunsets, and stars. We came here on our honeymoon, a cold spell after a hot summer. We ached for a warm shower, clean bodies. Good neighbors offered their shower, a resource to return to again. Today's buzz of motorboats recalls teenage summers. The boys with their family's boat, always ready to demonstrate its speed. Or the incredible evening we crossed the lake for a Hawaiian party at a millionaire's home with grass skirts, orchid layas, flaming torches on the docks. Whenever I drive past the road that leads to the country airport, I think of our friends who flew in for visits. She telling me how frightened she was that her husband loved flying. But if he died that way, she wanted to be beside him. She was. A baby conceived, a 95th birthday party held, children learning to swim and kayak, the rope hammock that can hold 4, golden 5 o'clock happy hours on the dock, rolling dolma into grape leaves just picked. Bats, clear water, lightning bugs, and dragonflies have given way to invasive plants, nibbling deer, large homes, big boats. This old porch table where I write is where so many great candlelit meals were served, with even greater laughter-filled stories. Sunsets could be gold, pink, coral, or monochrome blue. Behind mountains, all reflected in the lake. My brother calls it a world-class dining experience. This venue was where young cousins played tag, held mysterious meetings in secret shrub and tree shelters, stepped on stones bordering the water, picked honeysuckle berries to make jam, as their mothers did with raspberries. And still and overall, there is the constant lapping of water against the smooth stones of the shoreline. Life comes, life goes, but in between are the moments.
Thank you, Susan. That was wonderful. Now we're going to start with the rest of the people here reading, and we'll start with Arlene Wayland.
It's on, right? Maybe you should take it away. Here.
I don't think it's on.
It's not on? Oh, good. Okay. Here. Do you hear?
Yeah.
Hear me.
Okay.
Okay, I'm starting again. Here. Sitting outside on an old plastic chair, noting the ringing in this my right ear. Here, feeling the brush of cool, fresh air. Hearing the whisper of birds everywhere. Here, thankful for just being here.
Very nice, Arlene. Thank you, Arlene. We now have Debra Martin, who's going to read Staccato in Green Major.
Thank you.
Staccato in green mater. Far from the road, tussling with bittersweet. Here on the path that tumbles to the stream, I trip on the staccato of broken roots, seeking the mushroom, the purple beach. Give me tenor thumps from woodpecker trees. Give me torn breezes, whistled with dove wings. I long for the hickory, the cricket, the loon, far from the road that grumbles, that grieves. Bend me pointless on the cheek of milkweed. Lift me through spider warbs, tethered in leaves. I blink in the brightest of skies stung bloomer, here on the pathway stippled in green. I will straddle tall plumes heavy with seeds. I will fall as dust on the tongues of bees. I cling to the spices of hay-scented truth, gathered by roots through the meadows of reeds. Give me hammered thumps from woodpecker trees. Give me spun breezes, drowsy in dove wings. I dwell with the hickory, the cricket, the loon, dazzled in mushrooms and purple beach. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie Martin. And now it's supposed to be my turn. I'm going to get up here. No, I don't want help. I don't want help. I just need to push. Yeah, that's a good idea. There we go.
Okay. You want the microphone?
Okay. I'll take the microphone. I decided to have a short one, so it's not the one that you see in the list. The one I'm reading is called The 70-something. The 70-something spry cow took her bull by the horns and asked, "How shall we manage to dance with a splash of romance if we can't get back up when we bow?" Okay, and the next person is Katie. Katie, where are you? Right here. There. Katie Allen is the next person to read.
Yeah. So I'm reading this poem in both Hebrew and English. I will read the Hebrew first. And if you don't understand, that's okay. Just I invite you to let the words flow through you. Suf. Devorim zamzamot al esev parparim katom bahir. Parparim rashim anana harim lavanamum. Yonkei dvash tosasim asia parparim segol mu'ar. Logmim be'en ro'im ma'adan nozli chavui. Makor hazana v'kufot zi'irim mechunafim. Mechalkalim bo'zmanit du ragliim katlaniyim. Imazon bilti muchashi leneshama. Nechalmim lelo yediyah. V'hisardut kiyumit mituka. Nectar. Bees abuzz on bright orange butterfly weed.
butterflies a whir on muted white mountain mint. Hummingbirds a bubble on vivid purple butterfly bush, invisibly sipping hidden liquid delicacy, source of sustenance for tiny winged bodies, simultaneously nourishing lethal bipeds with intangible soul fare, unknowingly fighting for sweet existential survival.
Thank you, Katie. That was lovely. And now it's Laura's turn. Laura Lorenz.
My poem is called Aging Water Strider. Water striders are insects, by the way, not spiders. All right, you've probably seen them on lakes and rivers and things like that. So one day I imagined, well, what would it be like to be a water strider? They're so curious. What do they do? What do they think? So this is my poem. I stand on water and glide on gentle swells like a self-propelled snowboarder. No roads. I skate on water to reach my prey and friends. If I have any friends, I do not remember. I sleep near water. Where is my home? This quiet rock and moss will do until I wake near water, hungry to skate in random patterns on water's skin.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura, for that wonderful poem. Now it's Lynn Horsky. There she is. Time in the Gravel Pit.
Time in the gravel pit. A lone hawk circles high above the deep gravel pit. Weighted clouds nest in the heads of rustling trees, bare-rooted by the craggy opening of the quarry. Thunder drums over the hills, late summer storm coming. Quick, the kids mount their dirt bikes, skidding down the gravel heaps on a maze of rutted paths woven in the yard, kicking up dust to land in a haze. A few rally to ride the route once more before the rain. I climb back up half-buried boulders on the far side of the quarry, mind wandering in a geological section of a library where time's abstracted by eons, millions of compressed life stories here for the reading, stacked in crumbling prehistoric layers on the sides. Metamorphoses have patiently persisted in cracking the scenery from one age to another. Gravestones were carved out of this hillside a century ago. I stand still as I top the hill, heart quieting. The kids lay back their last wheelies on humps of tumbled rock, sliding by, waving goodbyes. Time slags to slow motion deja vus, to remembrances in the spaces between heartbeats of the impermanence of breath, the short breadth of mortality. Summer's gone to seed, recycling this life's body, a thin layer to wear to dust. First flung drops of cold rain hit my face, ripples across clouded reflections on dank water at the bottom of the ashen gravel pit. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. That was wonderful. Now it's Norman Nichols doing I Am an Intolerant He.
I am an intolerant he. I am an intolerant he who takes issue with poetry that does not rhyme, that has no rhythm. In short line, pretends new algorithm. 'Twas Robert of the Frost exemplified the cost and said why we should fret. Poetry that's lacking rhyme, you'll whack the ball without regret. Tennis without a net, sublime. What care they for rules? Those roadblocks for their jewels, like spatter to the modern painter. Or just leave the canvas white. Here now a gullible emptor. Rhyme? Are you kidding? Right. But then there's Sandra and Robin Marie with breezy Hawaiian scenery. Catherine and Sandra Francine, light and airy, never mean. And Daniel, Valerie, and Sue, gone someone long asked who? Julie, Robin, Susan, and Nancy. Rest in peace, our dear Nancy. Phil, Carolyn, and Linda, our 2023 poeta. Rachel, Tasha, and Kay, who now lives too far away. Lynn, Doreen, Donna, and Howard, of all of us, my most favored. Richard and Laura and Debra, Alan, and James. Explain what you meant again, James. Penny, Julie, and Cheryl, with words I like a bird, rise on that thermal. Wendy and Len, Laurie, Arlene, my go-to Buddhist Ursuline. George and Martha, and most of all, Joan. It's then I consider my ramble to find it can't hold a candle to those poets of prose whom I hold in high praise and have to expose my nothing but silly a phrase.
Very nice, Norman. That was lovely. And now Tasha, who's waited so long, she is our best and last. Tasha Halford.
Thank you, Joan. Thank you.
Been quite a day, hasn't it? And we're all still here. We're all still here. And I have the last poem to read. Love is. What is love? And where is it found? Can it be dug from stony ground by determined fingers? Or it lingers beneath a crust of disregard? Can it be plucked from a low-hanging bough, fruit of devotion, or found in the ocean, caught in a net of need, or grown from a seed planted in the heart? Is there another way to seek it? Does it peek from behind shy eyelids, afraid of being too bold and told to look elsewhere? To discover love is to uncover it, breaking away dead leaves of discontent, straightening bent bits of hope, dangling from a rope of despair of finding love anywhere. So the seeking continues. Love is a warm place, a kind face, a comfort to children lost in a forest of loneliness, disconnected from themselves and others. Love is a smile that welcomes, a song that soothes, a hand that holds, a kiss that says, I love you. Love is born in a place in the heart that starts with a sense of being one, of knowing that we are all of a oneness. Love begins with me and ends as we, together gathered in the heart of love.
Thank you, Tasha, for winding up. Now we We've done a reading for today, and I want to thank everyone for coming, whether on Zoom or in the library, and it has been a very, very special time for our workshop. If there is time, we can mingle, although it's getting to that time when the library needs to close.
10-15 minutes.
We have about 10 or 15 minutes left to say hello to each other, and all the best to everybody.